Ordinary. I know I'm not an ordinary 10-year-old kid. I mean, sure, I do ordinary things. I eat ice cream, I ride my bike, I play ball, I have an Xbox. Stuff like that makes me ordinary, I guess, and I feel ordinary inside. But I know ordinary kids don't make other ordinary kids run away screaming in playgrounds. I know ordinary kids don't get stared at wherever they go. If I found a magic lamp and I could have one wish, I would wish that I had a normal face that no one ever noticed at all. I would wish that I could walk down the street without people seeing me and then doing that look away thing. Here's what I think. The only reason I'm not ordinary is that no one else sees me that way. But I'm kind of used to how I look by now. I know how to pretend I don't see the faces people make. We've all gotten pretty good at that sort of thing. Me, Mom, and Dad, Veer. Actually, I take that back. Veer's not so good at it. She can get really annoyed when people do something rude. Like, for instance, one time in the playground, some older kids make some noises. I don't even know what the noises were exactly because I didn't hear them myself. But Veer heard and she just started yelling at the kids. That's the way she is. I'm not that way. Veer doesn't see me as ordinary. She says she does. But if I were ordinary, she wouldn't feel like she needs to protect me as much. And Mom and Dad don't see me as ordinary either. They see me as extraordinary. I think the only person in the world who realizes how ordinary I am is me. My name is August. By the way, I won't describe what I look like. Whatever you are thinking, it's probably worse.
Why I didn't go to school. Next week I start 5th grade. Since I've never been to a real school before, I'm pretty much totally and completely petrified. People think I haven't gone to school because of the way I look, but it's not that. It's because of all the surgeries I've had. 27 since I was born. The bigger ones happened before I was even 4 years old, so I don't remember those. But I've had 2 or 3 surgeries every year since then. Some big, some small, and because I'm little for my age and have some other medical mysteries that doctors never really figured out, I used to get sick a lot. That's why my parents decided it was better if I didn't go to school. I'm much stronger now though. The last surgery I had was 8 months ago, and I probably won't have to have any more for another couple of years. Mom homeschools me. She used to be a children's book illustrator. She draws really great fairies and mermaids. Her boy stuff isn't so hot though. She once tried to draw me a Darth Vader, but it ended up looking like some weird mushroom-shaped robot. I haven't seen her draw anything in a long time. I think she's too busy taking care of me and Via. I can't say I always wanted to go to school, because that wouldn't be exactly true. What I wanted was to go to school, but only if I could be like every other kid going to school, have lots of friends and hang out after school and stuff like that. I have a few really good friends now. Christopher is my best friend, followed by Zachary and Alex. We've known each other since we were babies, and since they've always known me the way I am, they are used to me. When we were little, we used to have play dates all the time, but then Christopher moved to Bridgeport in Connecticut. That's more than an hour away from where I live in North River Heights, which is at the top tip of Manhattan. And Zachary and Alex started going to school. It's funny, even though Christopher's the one who moved far away, I still see him more than I see Zachary and Alex. They have all these new friends now. If we bump into each other on the street, they're still nice to me though. They always say hello. I have other friends too, but not as good as Christopher and Zach and Alex were. For instance, Zach and Alex always invited me to their birthday parties when we were little, but Joel and Eamon and Gabe never did. Emma invited me once, but I haven't seen her in a long time. And of course, I always go to Christopher's birthday. Maybe I'm making too big a deal about birthday parties.
Everyone, my child name is How I Came to Life. I like when my mom tells this story because it makes me laugh so much. It is not funny in the way a joke is funny, but when mom tells it weird and I just start cracking up. So when I was in my mom's stomach, no one had any idea I would come out looking the way I look. Mom had had weird 4 years before, and that had been such a walk in the park mom expression that there was no reason to run any special tests. About 2 months before I was born, the doctor realized there was something wrong with my face, but they didn't think it is going to be bad. They told mom and dad I had a cleft palate and some other stuff going on. They called it small anomalies. They were toilets in the delivery room the night I was born. One was very nice and sweet. The other one, mom said, did not seem at all nice and sweet. They had very big and here comes the funny part. She kept farting. Like she would bring mom some ice cheese and then fart. She would check mom's blood pressure and fart. Mom says it was unbelievable because the nurse never even said excuse me. Meanwhile, mom's regular doctor wasn't on duty that night, so mom got stuck with this cranky kid doctor. She and dad nicknamed Doogie after some old TV show or something. They didn't actually call him that to his face, but mom says that even though everyone in the room were kind of grumpy, dad kept making her laugh all night long. When I came out of mom's stomach, she said the whole room got very quiet. Mom didn't even get a chance to look at me because the night nurse immediately rushed me out of the room. Dad was in such a hurry to follow her that he dropped the video camera, which broke into a million bits. And then mom got very upset and tried to get out of bed to see where they were going, but the farting nurse put her very big hands on mom to keep her down in the bed. They were practically fighting because mom was hysterical and farting nurse were yelling at her to stay calm. And then they all started screaming for the doctor. But guess what? He had fainted right on the floor. So when the farting nurse saw that he had fainted, she started pushing him with her foot to get him to wake up, yelling at him the whole time. What kind of doctor are you? What kind of doctor are you? Get up, get up. And then all of a sudden, she let out the biggest, loudest, and smelliest fart in the history of fart. Mom thinks it was actually the fart that finally woke the doctor. Anyway, when mom tells this story, she acts out on the past, including the farting noise, and it is so funny. Mom says the farting nurse turned out to be a very nice woman. She stayed with mom all the whole time, didn't leave her side even after dad came back and the doctors told them how sick I was. Mom remembers exactly what the nurse whispered in her ear when the doctor told her I probably wouldn't live through the night. Everyone born of God overcome the world. And the next day after I had lived through the night, it was that nurse who held Mom's hand when they brought her to meet me for the first time. Mom said by then they had told her all about me. She had been preparing herself for the seeing of me, but she said, "What's that?" When she looked down into my tiny face for the first time, all she could see was how pretty my eyes were. Mom is beautiful, by the way, and Dad is handsome. We are pretty, in case you were wondering.
Christopher's house. I was really bummed when Christopher moved away 3 years ago. We were both around 7 then. We used to spend hours playing with our Star Wars action figures and dueling with our lightsabers. I miss that. Last spring, we drove over to Christopher's house in Bridgeport. Me and Christopher were looking for snacks in the kitchen, and I heard Mom talking to Lisa, Christopher's mom, about my going to school in the fall. I had never ever heard her mention school before. "What are you talking about?" I said. Mom looked surprised, like she hadn't meant for me to hear that. "You should tell him what you've been thinking, Isabel," Dad said. He was on the other side of the living room talking to Christopher's dad. "We should talk about this later," said Mom. "No, I want to know what you're talking about," I answered. "Don't you think you're ready for school, Augie?" Mom said. "No," I said. "I don't either," said Dad. "Then that's it, case closed," I said, shrugging, and I sat in her lap like I was a baby. "I just think you need to learn more than I can teach you," Mom said. "I mean, come on, Augie, you know how bad I am at fractions." "What school?" I said. I already felt like crying. "Beecher Prep, right by us." "Wow, that's a great school, Augie," said Lisa, patting my knee. "Why not VIA school?" I said. "That's too big," Mom answered. "I don't think that would be a good fit for you." "I don't want to," I said. I admit I made my voice sound like a little babyish. "You don't have to do anything you don't want to do," Dad said, coming over and lifting me out of Mom's lap. He carried me over to sit on his lap on the other side of the sofa. "We won't make you do anything you don't want to do." "But it would be good for him, Nate," Mom said. "Not if he doesn't want to," answered Dad, looking at me. "Not if he's not ready." I saw Mom look at Lisa, who reached over and squeezed her hand. "You guys will figure it out," she said to Mom. "You always have." "Let's just talk about it later," said Mom. I could tell she and Dad were going to get in a fight about it. I wanted Dad to win the fight, though a part of me knew Mom was right, and the truth is, she really was terrible at fractions.
Driving. It was a long drive home. I fell asleep in the back seat like I always do, my head on Via's lap like she was my pillow, a towel wrapped around the seatbelt so I wouldn't drool all over her. Via fell asleep too, and Mom and Dad talked quietly about grown-up things I didn't care about. I don't know how long I was sleeping, but when I woke up there was a full moon outside the car window. It was a purple night, and we were driving on a highway full of cars. And then I heard Mom and Dad talking about me. "We can't keep protecting him," Mom whispered to Dad, who was driving. "We can't just pretend he's going to wake up tomorrow and this isn't going to be his reality. Because it is, Ned, and we have to have him learn to deal with it. We can't just keep avoiding situations that..." "So sending him off to middle school like a lamb to the slaughter," Dad answered angrily, but he didn't even finish his sentence because he saw me in the mirror looking up. "What is a lamb to the slaughter?" I asked sleepily. "Go back to sleep, Augie," Dad said softly. "I ran your stare at me at school," I said, suddenly crying. "Honey," Mom said. She turned around in the front seat and put her hand on my hand. "You know, if you don't want to do this, you don't have to. But we spoke to the principal there and told him about you, and he really wants to meet you." "What did you tell him about me?" "How funny you are and how kind and smart." "When I told him you read Dragon Rider when you were sick, he was like, 'Wow, I have to meet this kid.'" "Did you tell him anything else?" Mom smiled at me. Her smile kind of hugged me. "I told him about all your surgeries and how brave you are," she said. "So he knows what I look like?" I asked. "Well, we brought pictures from last summer in Montauk." They said we showed him pictures of the whole family and that great shot of you holding that flower on the bowl. You were there too?" I have to admit I felt a little disappointed that he was a part of this. "We both talked to him, yes," Dad said. "He's a really nice man." You would like him, Mom added. Suddenly, it felt like they were on the same side. Wait, so when did you meet him? I said. He took us on a tour of the school last year, said Mom. Last year, I said. So you've been thinking about this for a whole year and you didn't tell me? We didn't know if you would even get in, Augie, answered Mom. It's a very hard school to get into. There's a whole admissions process. I didn't see the point in telling you and having you get all worked up about it unnecessarily. But you're right, Augie. We should have told you when we found out last month that you got in, said Dad. In hindsight, sighed Mom. Yes, I guess. Did that lady who came to the house that time have something to do with it? The one that gave me that test? Yes, actually, said Mom, looking guilty. Yes. You told me it was an IQ test. I know. Well, that was a white lie, she answered. It was a test you needed to take to get into the school. You did very well on it, by the way. So you lied, I said. A white lie, but yes, sorry, she said, trying to smile, but when I didn't smile back, she turned around in her seat and faced forward. Why's a lamb to the slaughter? I said. Mom sighed and gave Daddy a look. I shouldn't have said that, Dad said, looking at me in the rearview mirror. It's not true. Here's the thing. Mommy and I love you so much. We want to protect you any way we can. It's just sometimes we want to do it in different ways. I don't want to go to school, I answered, folding my arms. It would be good for you, Augie, said Mom. Maybe I will go next year, I answered, looking out the window. This year would be better, Augie, said Mom. You know why? Because you will be going into 5th grade, and that is the first year of middle school for everyone. You won't be the only new kid. I will be the only kid who looks like me, I said. I'm not going to say it won't be a challenge for you because you know better and than that, she answered. But it will be good for you, Augie. You will make lots of friends and you will learn things you would never learn with me. She turned in her seat again and looked at me. When we took the tour, you know what they had in their science lab? A little baby chicken that was just hatching out of its egg. It was so cute. Augie, it actually kind of remember me of you when you were a little baby, with those big brown eyes of yours. I usually love when they talk about me when I was a baby. Sometimes I want to curl up into a little tiny ball and let them hug me and kiss me all over. I miss being a baby, not knowing stuff, but I wasn't in the mood for that now. I don't want to go, I said. How about this? Can you at least meet Mr. Tushman before making up your mind? Mom asked. Mr. Tushman, I said. He's the principal, answered Mom. Mr. Tushman, I repeated. I know, right? Dad answered, smiling and looked at me in the rearview mirror. Can you believe that name, Augie? I mean, who on earth would ever agree to have a name like Mr. Tushman? I smiled even though I didn't want to let them see me smile. That was the one person in the world who could make me laugh no matter how much I didn't want to laugh. That always made everyone laugh. Augie, you know, you should go to that school just so you can hear his name said over the loudspeaker. They said excitedly. Can you imagine how funny that would be? Hello, hello, panging Mr. Tushman. He was using a fake high old lady voice. Hi, Mr. Tushman. I see you're running a little behind today. Did your car get rear-ended again? What a... I started laughing, not even because I thought he was being that funny, but because I wasn't in the mood to say and mad anymore. It could be worse though. Dad continued in his normal voice. Mommy and I had a professor in college called Miss Bird. Mom was laughing now too. Is that for real? I said. Roberta Bird. Mom answered, raising her hand as if to swear. Bobby Bird. She had half cheeks, said Dad. Ned, oh, said Mom. What? She has big cheeks, is all I'm saying. Mom laughed and shook her head at the same time. Hey, I know, said Dad excitedly. Let's pick them up on a blind date. Can you imagine Miss Bird meet Mr. Tushman? Mr. Tushman, yes, Miss Bird. Then you could get married and have a bunch of little tushy. Poor Mr. Tushman, answered Mom, shaking her head. Augie hasn't even met the man yet, Ned. With Mr. Tushman, Via said groggily. She has yet woken up. He's the principal of my new school, I answered.
Chapter 6. Paging Mr. Tushman. I would have been more nervous about meeting Mr. Tushman if I'd known I was also going to be meeting some kids from the new school. But I didn't know, so if anything, I was kind of giggly. I couldn't stop thinking about all the jokes Daddy had made about Mr. Tushman's name. So when me and Mom arrived at Beach of Brab a few weeks before the start of school, and I saw Mr. Tushman standing there, waiting for us at the entrance, I started giggling right away. He didn't look at all like I would picture, though. I guess I thought he would have a huge butt, but he didn't. In fact, he was a pretty normal guy, tall and thin, old but not really old. He seemed nice. He shook my mom's hand first. Hi, Mr. Tushman. It's so nice to see you again, said Mom. This is my son, August. Mr. Tushman looked right at me and smiled and nodded. He put his hand out for me to shake. Hi, August. It's a pleasure to meet you. Hi, I mumbled, dropping my hand into his hand while I looked down at his feet. He was wearing red Adidas. So, he said, kneeling down in front of me so I couldn't look at his sneakers, but had to look at his face. Your mom and dad have told me a lot about you. Like, what have they told you? I asked. Sorry? Honey, you have to speak up, said Mom. Like what? I asked, trying not to mumble. I admit I have a bad habit of mumbling. Well, that you like to read, said Mr. Tushman, and that you are a great artist. He had blue eyes with white eyelashes. And you're into science, right? Uh-huh, I said, nodding. We have a couple of great science electives at Beecher, he said. Maybe you'll take one of them? Uh-huh, I said, though I had no idea what an elective was. So, are you ready to take a tour? You mean we're doing that now? I said. Do you think we are going to the movies? He answered, smiling as he stood up. You didn't tell me we were taking a tour, I said to Mom in my accusing voice. Oh gee. She started to say, It'll be fine, August, said Mr. Tushman, holding his hand out to me. I promise. I think he wanted me to take his hand, but I took Mom's instead. He smiled and started walking toward the entrance. Mommy gave my hand a little squeeze, though I don't know if it was an I love you squeeze or I'm sorry squeeze. Probably a little both. The only school I've been inside before was Via's, when I would went with Mom and Dad to watch Via sing in spring concerts and stuff like that. The school was very different. It was smaller. It smelled like a hospital.
Nice, Miss Garcia. We followed Mr. Cushman down a few hallways. There weren't a lot of people around, and the few people who were there didn't seem to notice me at all. Thought that may have been because they didn't see me. I sort of hid behind Mom's and eyes worked. I know that sounds kind of babyish of me, but I wasn't feeling very brave right then. We ended up in a small room with the words office of the middle school director on the door. Inside, there was a desk with a nice senior lady sitting behind it. "This is Miss Garcia," said Mr. Cushman. The lady smiled at Mom and took off her glasses and got up out of her chair. My mother shook her hand and said, "Isabel Pullman, nice to meet you." "And this is August," Mr. Cushman said. Mom kind of stepped to the side a bit so I would move forward. Then something happened that I had seen happen a million times before. When I looked up at her, Miss Garcia's eyes dropped for a second. It was so fast no one else would have noticed, since the rest of her face stayed exactly the same. She was smiling a really shiny smile. "Such a pleasure to meet you, August," she said, holding out her hand for me to shake. "Hi," I said quietly, giving her my hand, but I didn't want to look at her face, so I kept staring at her glasses, which hung for a chain around her neck. "Wow, what a firm grip," said Miss Garcia. Her hand was really warm. The kiss got a killer handshake. Mr. Cushman agreed, and everyone laughed above my head. "You can call me Miss G," Miss Garcia said. I think she was talking to me, but I was looking at all the stuff on her desk now. "That's what everyone calls me. Miss G. I forgot my combination. Miss G. I need a late pass. Miss G. I want to change my elective." "Miss G actually is the one who runs the place," said Mr. Cushman, which again made all the grown-ups laugh. "I'm here every morning by 7:30, Miss Garcia continued, still looking at me while I stared at her brown sandals with small purple flowers on the buckles. "So if you ever need anything, August, I'm the one to ask, and you can ask me anything." "Okay," I mumbled. "Oh, look at the cute baby," Mom said, pointing to one of the photos on Miss Garcia's bulletin board. "Is he yours?" "No, my goodness," said Miss Garcia, smiling a big smile. Now that was totally different from her shiny smile. "You have just made my day. He's my grandson." "What a cutie," said Mom, shaking her head. "How old?" "In that picture he was 5 months, I think, but he is big now, about 8 years old." "Wow," said Mom, nodding and smiling. "Well, he is absolutely beautiful." "Thank you," said Miss Garcia, nodding like she was about to say something else but about her grandson. But then all of a sudden, her smile got a little smaller. "We are all going to take very good care of August," she said to Mom, and I saw her give Mom's hand a little squeeze. I looked at Mom's face, and that was when I realized she was just as nervous as I was. I guess I liked Miss Garcia when she wasn't wearing her shiny smile.
Jack Well, Julian, and Charlotte. We followed Mr. Tushman into a small room across from Mrs. Garcia's desk. He was talking as he closed the door to his office and sat down behind his big desk, though I wasn't really paying much attention to what he was saying. I was looking around at all the things on his desk. Cool stuff, like a globe that floated in the air and a rabbit tycoon made with little mirrors. I like his office a lot. I like that there was all the neat little drawings and paintings by students on the walls, framed like they were important. Mom sat down in a chair in front of Mr. Tushman's desk, and even though there was another chair right next to hers, I decided to stand beside her. "Why do you have your own room and Mrs. G doesn't?" I said. You mean, why do I have an office? Asked Mr. Tushman. You said she runs the place. I said, oh, wow. I was kind of kidding Mrs. G in my assistant. Do they call you Mr. T? I asked, which made him smile. Do you know who Mr. T is? He answered. I pity the fool. He said in a funny tough voice, like he were imitating someone. I had no idea what he was talking about. Anyway, no, said Mr. Tushman, shaking his head. No one calls me Mr. T, though I have a feeling I'm called a lot of other things I don't know about. Let's face it, a name like mine is not so easy to live with. You know what I mean? Here I had to admit I totally laughed, because I knew exactly what he meant. My mom and dad had a teacher called Miss Butt. I said, Augie, said Mom, but Mr. Tushman laughed. Now, that's bad, said Mr. Tushman, shaking his head. I guess I shouldn't complain. Hey, so listen, August, here's what I thought we could do today. Is that a pumpkin? I said, pointing to a frame painting behind Mr. Tushman's desk. Augie, sweetie, don't interrupt, said Mom. You like it? Said Mr. Tushman, turning around and look at the painting. I do too. And I thought it was a pumpkin too, until the student who gave it to me explained that it is actually not a pumpkin. It is, are you ready for this? A portrait of me. Now, August, I ask you, do I really look that much like a pumpkin? No, I answered, though I was thinking yes. Something about the way his cheeks puffed out when he smiled made him look like a jack-o'-lantern. She said I thought that. It occurred to me how funny that was. Cheeks, Mr. Tushman, and I started laughing a little. I shook my head and covered my mouth with hand. Mr. Tushman smiled, like he could read my mind. I was about to say something else, but then all of a sudden I heard other voices outside the office, kids' voices. I'm not exaggerating when I say this, but my heart literally started beating like I just ran the longest race in the world. The laughter I had inside just poured out of me. The thing is, when I was little, I never minded meeting new kids because all the kids I met were really little too. What's cool about really little kids is that they don't say stuff to try to hurt your feelings, even though sometimes they do say stuff that hurts your feelings, but they don't actually know what they're saying. Big kids, though, they know what they're saying, and that is definitely not fun for me. One of the reasons I grew my hair long last year was that I like how my bangs cover my eyes. It helped me block out the things I don't want to see. Mrs. Garcia locked on the door and poked her head inside. They here, Mr. Tushman, she said. Who's here? I said. Thanks, Mr. Tushman, to Mrs. Garcia. August, I thought it would be a good idea for you to meet some students who'll be in your homeroom this year. I figured they could take you around the school a bit, show you the lay of the land, so to speak. I don't want to meet anyone, I said to Mom. Mr. Tushman was suddenly right in front of me, his hands on my shoulders. He leaned down and said very softly in my ear, It'll be okay, August. These are nice kids, I promise. You're going to be okay, Augie? Mom whispered with all her might. Before she could say anything, Mr. Tushman opened the door to his office. Come on, kids! Come on in, kids! He said, and in walked 2 boys and a girl. None of them looked over at me or Mom. They stood by the door, looking straight at Mr. Tushman, like their lives depended on it. Thanks so much for coming, guys, especially since school doesn't start until next month, said Mr. Tushman. Have you had a good summer? All of them nodded, but no one said anything. Great, great. And Mr. Tushman, so guys, I wanted you to meet August, who's going to be a new student here this year. August, these guys have been students at Beecher Prep since kindergarten, though, of course, they weren't allowed a school building, but they know all the ins and outs of the middle school program. And since you're in the same homeroom, I thought it would be nice if you got to know each other a little before school started. Okay? So, kids, "This is August. August, this is Jack Will." Jack Will looked at me and put out his hand. When I shook it, he kind of half smiled and said, "Hey," and looked down really fast. "This is Julian," said Mr. Tushman. "Hey," said Julian, and did the same exact thing, and Jack Will took my hand, forced a smile, looked out fast. "And Charlotte," said Mr. Tushman. Charlotte had the blondest hair I've ever seen. She didn't shake my hand, but gave me a little wave and smiled. "Hi, August. Nice to meet you," she said. "Hi," I said, looking down. She was wearing bright green gloves. "So," said Mr. Tushman, putting his hands together in case slow clap, "what I thought you guys could do is take August on a little tour of the school. Maybe you could start on the 3rd floor. That's where your homeroom class is going to be, room 301. I think Missy G is room 301. Missy Garcia called out from the other room. Room 301. Mr. Tushman nodded. "And then you can show August the science labs and the computer room. Then work your way down to the library and the performance space on the 2nd floor. Take him to the cafeteria." Of course. "Should we take him to the music room?" asked Julian. "Good idea," said Mr. Tushman. "August, do you play any instruments?" "No," I said. It wasn't my favorite subject on account of the fact I don't really have ears. Well, I do, but they don't exactly look like normal ears. "Wow, you may enjoy seeing the music room anyway," said Mr. Tushman. "We have a very nice selection of percussion instruments. August, you've been wanting to learn to play drums," Mom said, trying to get me to look at her, but my eyes were covered by my bangs, and as I stared at the piece of old gum that was stuck to the bottom of Mr. Tushman's desk. "Great, okay, so why don't you guys get going?" said Mr. Tushman. "Just be back here in," he looked at Mom, "half an hour, okay?" I think Mom nodded. "So, is that okay with you, August?" he asked me. I didn't answer. "Is that okay, August?" Mom repeated. I looked at her now. I wanted her to see how mad I was at her, but then I saw her face. I just nodded. She seemed more scared than I was. The other kids had started out the door, so I followed them. "See you soon," said Mom, her voice sounding a little higher than normal. I didn't answer her.
The grand tour. The kid named Julian takes charge of the tour. He checked August to room 301, the homeroom all of them share. He points out the door, but doesn't take August inside. Next, Julian leads the way to a science classroom. Here again, he stands in the doorway, but Jack will interrupt and say they should all go inside. Inside, Julian points out the stuff in the room, including the desk, the chalkboard, and the erasers. Charlotte protests that everyone knows what an eraser is, but Julian says that maybe August doesn't know if he has never been to the school before. Through all this, August is too nervous to say anything, so Jack will press him to speak up. August says he knows what an eraser is, but he has never heard a homeroom before. Charlotte launched into a long-winded explanation that is almost as detailed as Julian's tour of the science room. Eventually, Jack interrupts and says August probably get it by now. August says that he does.